My dear friend, welcome. Sit with me for a while. Let us talk not with urgency, but with depth. You are here for a reason. Perhaps you felt a pull, a soft whisper inside you that said, "There is more to this life." And you are right. In the ancient texts and the quiet teachings passed from one breath to another, there is a recurring thought: this life is not the first, nor is it the only. We have walked many paths, worn many faces, and carried many burdens across the lifetimes. But what if I told you there is such a thing as the last life? Yes, it may sound unusual, but the soul, your soul, has an end point in the physical realm. Edgar Cayce, often called the sleeping prophet, spoke about this. He said that some among us carry signs that suggest the wheel of karma is nearing its final spin. The cycle is completing. You're close to home, but how would you know? Let me tell you a story first. Many years ago, in the still silence of a Himalayan cave, I met an old yogi. His face was like parchment, lined by time but glowing with peace. He spoke very little, but when he did, his words felt like a mirror for my soul. He said, "Those who are nearing their final birth do not chase the world, they chase peace. They stop arguing and start understanding. They stop proving and start being." Those words have never left me. So today, I want to share with you 9 deep signs, revealed by spiritual seekers, supported by Cayce's readings, and observed through my own life as a monk, that suggest you may be in your final reincarnation on this earth. This isn't about fear. It's about awakening. It's about remembering why you are here. Let us begin. Sign 1, a deep sense of not belonging. Have you ever felt, foreign in your own land? Like the world is too loud, too strange, too shallow? Those nearing the end of their soul's journey often feel like strangers here. They see through the illusions, the news, the fame, the endless striving. It all feels like a masquerade. You feel homesick, but not for a place, for a state of being. I remember a young woman who came to our ashram many winters ago. She had everything: beauty, wealth, a family who loved her. But still, her eyes were tired. She told me, "I feel like I've lived this all before. I don't want more. I want meaning." That longing for depth, that ache to go inward. It is a sacred sign. It means your soul remembers. You are not broken. You are awakening. Sign 2, compassion. Without boundaries, a soul in its final life sees everyone as themselves. You no longer judge based on skin, creed, or status. The beggar and the banker are one. You look into someone's pain and you feel it. You don't turn away from suffering, you lean into it. This isn't weakness, it's wisdom. You know that love is not a transaction. It is your nature. Edgar Cayce said that the soul in its final form becomes a channel for healing. And indeed, such souls naturally attract others who are hurting, lost, or weary. You may find yourself being a silent support for many, even when your own heart is heavy, but you give because you are the giving. Sign 3, a detachment from material success. Tell me honestly, have you noticed your lack of excitement about worldly rewards? A promotion, a new car, applause from others. It just doesn't stir your soul like it used to, does it? That is not depression. That is detachment. It doesn't mean you don't appreciate things. You do. But you are no longer chained to them. You see clearly, these things pass. What stays is your peace, your presence, your purpose. I once watched a man in his 60s give away all he owned to fund a school in a village he had never visited. When I asked him why, he said, "I've taken enough from the world. It's time to return it." Such is the mind of one nearing soul liberation. Sign 4, A heightened intuition or inner knowing. Have you noticed your gut feelings becoming louder, more accurate? Those in their final cycles often experience what we call Atma Bodha, an awakening of the inner compass. You start to know without knowing how you know. A person walks into the room, and you sense their mood before they speak. You dream things that come true. You avoid situations that would have harmed you, without logical reason. Your soul is tuning in to the higher planes. The veil is thinning, and you are remembering. Sign 5. An obsession with truth and authenticity. Let me ask you something. Have you become allergic to lies, manipulation, or hypocrisy? Even small pretenses, laughing when you don't mean it, pleasing when you don't feel it. It feels like you're betraying something deep inside. That is your soul demanding truth. You see, in previous lives, we play many roles. The warrior, the merchant, the thief, the queen. But in the final life, we just want to be real. We don't need masks. We want to walk bare-souled into this world, even if it means walking alone. These 5 signs are just the beginning. There are 4 more. And each one takes you closer to the center of your spiritual journey. I will share them with you in the next part of our time together. For now, sit with what you've heard. Let these signs echo within your heart, not your head. You are not alone. You are not strange. You are simply remembering. Welcome back, dear one. Thank you for sitting with me once again. It is no small thing to sit with these thoughts. The signs we discussed before of detachment, deep empathy, and an unshakable intuition are not light observations. They are echoes from the soul. When these signs rise within you, they do not ask for attention like the ego does. They whisper, not shout. They nudge, not demand. And now, let us walk further together. Here is the 6th sign. Sign 6. A deep pull towards solitude and silence. I often say, silence is not empty. It is full of answers. Those nearing their last cycle on Earth begin to crave silence. Not because they dislike people, but because the outer world begins to feel too loud for the soul's subtle language. You may find yourself seeking quiet moments under trees, feeling more alive watching birds or rivers than in conversations. You may go through what others call loneliness, but what you feel is not loneliness. It is longing for something sacred and still. There was a man in our monastery decades ago who had once been a renowned lawyer. He walked away from everything, courtrooms, clients, cities, and came to live in a hut with no electricity. I asked him once if he missed his old life. He smiled and said, "I didn't walk away from life. I walked towards it." That is the journey of solitude, not escape, but reunion. Sign 7. Dreams and memories from other lives. Now, let us enter a more mystical sign. If you have started having vivid dreams that feel more like memories, places you've never been to in this life, faces that seem hauntingly familiar, emotions that don't belong to this timeline, pay attention. The soul stores all its experiences like ink on invisible pages, and in the final incarnation, those pages begin to bleed through. You might walk through an old village and feel déjà vu so strong it brings tears to your eyes. You might hold a stranger's hand and feel love that seems ancient. Edgar Cayce spoke often of soul memories surfacing in dreams, lessons not yet completed, promises made in past lives, energies still seeking balance. These are not delusions. These are the footprints of the many lives your soul has walked, and in the final cycle they begin to return, not to haunt, but to complete. This is why healing becomes so urgent for old souls. It is not just for this life, it is for all lives. Sign 8. An inner knowing that time is precious have. You felt a quiet urgency lately. Not anxiety, not panic, but an unspoken awareness that time is not to be wasted. This is not the same as rushing. In fact, it often leads you to slow down, but with deeper intent. You begin to measure your life not in years or possessions, but in presence, in peace, in purpose. I've seen this in elders, yes, but I've also seen it in young people, teenagers with eyes older than mountains. They speak less, but when they do, it is with gravity. They don't care for trends. They care for truth. You may find yourself turning away from distractions naturally. Television, gossip, chasing fame. It all begins to feel like cotton candy, bright but empty. And instead, you are drawn toward meaning, legacy, impact, stillness. It's because your soul remembers. This may be your last lap around the sun in this form, and that knowing makes every moment sacred. Sign 9. A magnetic pull toward spiritual growth and service. This is perhaps the most telling sign of all. You begin to burn for truth, not just to know it, but to live it. You no longer seek comfort. You seek awakening. You want to help, not for recognition, but because the pain of others feels like your own. Whether through prayer, meditation, healing, teaching, or simple acts of kindness, you find yourself offering more and expecting less. And here's the mystery. The more you give, the fuller you feel. I once knew a woman who, after losing her child, started volunteering at an orphanage. I asked her why, and she said, "Because every child now feels like my own. It's not charity, it's family." That's the heart of a soul nearing the end of its journey. It extends itself. It no longer says, "This is me, and that is you." It says, "We are one." When your deepest joy comes from helping another breathe easier, you are aligning with your eternal nature. So, my friend, these are the 9 signs. They are not tests. They are mirrors. You may see one, or many, or all. They are not marks of pride. They are calls to awaken, to return, to release what no longer serves you. You see, the last life is not a reward, it is a responsibility. Because in your last life, you are called to love deeper, to live wiser, to let go easier. But most of all, you are called to teach others, not by preaching, but merging with the flow of divine will. As your final incarnation unfolds, you begin to surrender, gently, naturally, not because you are weak, but because you trust. You begin to say, "I do not need to control this life. I only need to cooperate with it." This surrender isn't giving up. It's giving over. You become like a leaf on the river, still whole, still beautiful, but moved by the current of something far wiser than your mind. And in that surrender, something extraordinary happens. The universe begins to use you, not for your own story, but for the healing of others. You are placed in just the right conversation, at just the right moment. You speak words you didn't plan. You touch lives without trying, because you are now a vessel, not a visitor. You have become the teaching. So, what do you do now that you suspect this is your last dance upon this sacred earth? You don't withdraw. You don't boast. You don't chase perfection. You live, simply, mindfully, lovingly. You touch each moment as if it is your last. And yet, you laugh. Because you know, you are eternal. We are nearing the end of this conversation, dear one, but not the end of the path. For the soul's journey is not linear, it spirals inward. As we prepare for our final page together, we will speak on the mystery of what comes after and what Edgar Cayce and ancient wisdom reveal about what awaits a soul once it has completed its incarnations on Earth. But before that, I invite you to pause, reflect, breathe, feel, because yous are almost home. Welcome back, my dear traveler. Here we are. Page 5, nearing the end of this spoken path. Yet as I always say, what feels like an end is often only a return. A return. To truth, to stillness, to your own luminous being. Now that you've walked with me through the 9 signs of the soul's final incarnation, through the reflections of simplicity, surrender, service, and slowness, now it's time we speak. Of something rarely spoken aloud. What happens after this? What happens to a soul that no longer needs to return? Ah, this is sacred ground. And though words may never fully contain it, we will speak of it gently, with reverence. The completion of the earthly mandala. When a soul completes its earthly journey, it doesn't disappear. No, it returns. But not to another body, to its source. Edgar Cayce often described this moment as a transition, not to oblivion, but to the higher planes of awareness. Planes where time has no teeth, where there is no hunger, no fear, only the pure resonance of love, wisdom, and unity. It is as if the soul exhales, finally. It doesn't become nothing. It becomes everything. Beyond karma, into dharma. Of the infinite, you see, while karma binds us to return, unfinished lessons, unhealed wounds. The soul that has resolved its karma enters into dharmic service beyond form. This means the soul now begins to assist others from the unseen. You may become a guide, a whisper in the dreams of seekers, a calming presence in moments of despair, a silent helper to those still in the thick of earthly struggle. That's why sometimes people say, I felt something near me, warm, guiding, peaceful. Yes, often it's a liberated soul, like yours will be. The final life is not an escape. It's a graduation, not to heaven as reward, but to union as recognition. You remember, you have always been the light. On the river, joins the ocean, a beloved metaphor I often return to is that of the river and the ocean. The soul in its incarnations is a river, flowing, meandering, sometimes crashing, always moving, always seeking. And then, one day, it sees it. The vastness, the great stillness, the ocean of God. And the river does not resist. It simply merges. It does not lose itself. It becomes limitless. When the soul ends its final earthly cycle, it is no longer a drop in the ocean. It becomes the ocean in a drop. Memories fade, essence remains. You may wonder, will I still be me? The answer, paradoxically, is yes and no. You will no longer cling to the name, the face, the stories, but the essence of who you are, the love you gave, the peace you cultivated, the wisdom you lived, that remains. It becomes part of the fabric of the universe. Every soul you touched carries a thread of you. Every word you spoke in truth echoes in eternity. So you see, death is not a vanishing. It is a diffusion into the all. And the all is love. Preparing without fear. Many people ask me, how do I prepare for the end? And I tell them, don't prepare by trying to earn heaven. Prepare by becoming peace. Be the kind of presence that brings comfort wherever you go. Let your silence be healing. Let your gaze remind others of their worth. Let your last thoughts at night be of gratitude, not regret. This is the preparation, not through striving, but through softening. You don't need to be perfect. You only need to be present. So, dear soul, if you have recognized yourself in these words, then I honor you. You are not lost. You are not late. You are not broken. You are remembering. And remember this too. Even if this is your last life, your journey is not ending. It is simply changing form. And in that, there is no fear. Only grace, the conclusion. And now, dear one, we have come to the close of this path. Together, we've walked through memories older than time. We've looked into the sacred mirror of the soul. We've gently uncovered the 9 signs that suggest, perhaps, your time on earth as an incarnating soul is nearing its completion. Let me whisper them to you one last time, not as a checklist, but as a remembrance. You feel a strange calm in chaos. You carry deep empathy, even for those who have wronged you. You find less pleasure in noise and more peace in silence. You no longer chase, but attract. You prefer truth, even when it's uncomfortable. You forgive with ease, not because they deserve it, but because you do. You sense that love is not an emotion, but the very fabric of reality. You live with an inner urgency, not to do more, but to be fully present. And above all, you know this life is different. If you see these signs, not just with your eyes, but with your inner being, then perhaps this is your soul's final turning of the wheel. But let me offer one final truth. The last life is not the final gift. You may have expected grand fireworks, some divine reward, or a cosmic trumpet declaring your soul's freedom. But the gift is far more intimate than that. The final incarnation gives you the gift of clarity, a chance to love without attachments, to serve without seeking applause, to weep without shame, to forgive without bargaining, to live without fear, and to die, not as an ending, but as a return to the arms of eternity. You see, the final life is not about escape. It's about embodiment, to be fully here and yet already home. What now? So, what do you do with this sacred knowing? You live. You love. You laugh deeply. You too cry honestly. You touch lives gently. You plant trees whose shade you will never sit under. And when the end does come, whether quietly in sleep or like a soft whisper on a breeze, you will smile, because you'll know. You've done what you came here to do. Let me leave you with one last story. There was once an old sage who was asked, "Master, what is the final truth?" He smiled and said, "Wash your bowl," meaning, don't seek escape, don't seek to float in the clouds, just be here, fully. Live with clarity, love with depth. Walk softly and wash your bowl, with care, with grace, with presence. That is enlightenment. Thank you, my dear listener, for walking with me through this sacred conversation. Whether you are in your first incarnation, your 100th, or your last, it matters not. What matters is how you walk, with awareness, with peace, with compassion. As you go forward now, take this silence with you, not as emptiness, but as a reminder that you are not just passing through the world, you are becoming it, and the world is waiting to remember itself through you. Closing blessing, may your days be gentle, may your heart stay open, may your breath guide you home, and may you never forget, you are the light you've been seeking. Namaste, dear soul. The journey is complete, but you are eternal.